Hello, good afternoon, my dear students. Am I audible to you? Please respond, someone. Am I audible to you? Hello? Thank you. Have you gone through the question bank, updated question bank that I have sent to you for the second mid exam, keeping in view? Hello? Are you able to listen me, guys? You have to respond. Have you seen the question bank, updated question bank that I sent to you? Hello? Have you found the answers? I have added some 6 to 7 questions. Sometimes 10 questions are added to some units. In some units, I have added some 10 questions additional because the software that we are using to conduct the mid exam will not accept the none of the above or all of the above or both A and B like options. So we have to give 4 distinct answers for each question. So I have framed, I have added some more questions, keeping that in view. So find the answers on your own. Try to read the 2 textbooks or even my recorded class. I have uploaded almost all the 5 units video lectures to the YouTube. You can search in my channel, Sudhakar Chekuri. My channel name is. In that there are subjects like ADE and GPS. So ADE is last semester subject and GPS is this semester your subject. So you can go through it. And from section C, coming to this class, from section C, I have got a message. They are very clear about which topics are to be revised. But from section A and section B, I didn't get any response. So what do I mean? Shall I mean that you are thorough with the entire syllabus in a positive way? So coming to the section C, the mentioned topics are so the first topic from first unit, what they asked is satellite navigation derivation in a 2-dimensional way. Satellite navigation derivation in a 2-dimensional way by using the, of course, we use the trilateration technique. Of course, we use the trilateration technique. So that is a mathematical derivation. It is very clearly given in the textbook. So we will see that also now. So only 14 members are present. Shall I wait for 2 more minutes or go ahead? It's already 10 minutes since I began my class. Say something, please. I'll put a message in your class groups. Wait for 2 more minutes. So sorry to disturb you once again, might be in the sleeping mode. But it is a pre-schedule, right? In the morning only I schedule it, right? Okay, no problem. So as already the syllabus has been completed, we'll start off with the Unit 1 topics. We'll have a quick revision of the things what we learned already, right? So GPS is introduction, Unit 1. Introduction is the Unit 1. We'll see that and we'll go ahead topic wise. So as of now, I'm muting you all. If at all any query, you can raise your hand and ask me the question, or you can type it in the chat box. Is that okay, guys? If you have anything else to discuss, you can type in the chat box. So this is Unit 1, Introduction to the GPS. So in this we have learned about the basic navigation techniques and overview of the GNSS, Global Navigation Systems satellite or satellite system, whatever you call, both way, either way you can call it. So in that we have found 3 constellations. They are GPS, Global Positioning System, GLONASS, and Galileo. Of course, the 3 are invented by 3 different countries. That is the only difference. The working, everything, almost they are like similar. And what are the components of the GPS? What are the major components of the GPS? Of course, there are only 3 components. And what is satellite navigation? So here we are learning about the navigation, the basic terms, and then here we learn what is the satellite navigation. How do we find the navigation using the satellite? Because the GPS is primarily involving the GPS satellites and ranging and timing. So how to find the range? Range is nothing but the distance of the user, and how to record the timings. Because the type of travel of a RF signal plays a major role in the finding out the distance or locating the user's position. Then a brief note on the applications of the GPS. Of course, lastly, satellite navigation solution in the 2-dimensional. So how do we calculate or how do we find the satellite navigation solution in the 2-dimensional way, mathematically? That is the next topic. So first of all, there are 5 basic forms of navigation, as we knew. The first one is the pilotage. So pilotage will rely on the recognizing the landmarks, know where you are and how you are oriented. So we will depend upon some landmarks. So generally, if somebody asks us, where are you? I'm at Maitrivanam. It is in Amirpet. Or I'm at Gokulchat. It is in Koti. Or I may say, I am at JNTU Hyderabad. JNTU is a landmark. So people, it is older than the humankind. That means before the evolution of the mankind, of course, you know the Darwin's principle of origin, right? The Darwin's principle of origin, before the evolution of the human being, there were apes. Of course, before apes, monkeys were there. So even the wild animals also used to communicate. Of course, they would be having their own language, and it was said as the older than the human kind, right? And second one is the dead reckoning. So this will rely on knowing where you started from, plus some form of heading information and some estimate of the speed. So dead reckoning is somewhat advanced. So where you started is required, and in which direction you are oriented is required, and with what speed you are moving, because the objects or the users will be moving. They were not be always stationary. So to know this, the wind required some speed, that is called as the attitude. Later on we are going to learn in our technical terms. And third one is the celestial navigation. So this is using the time and angles between some local vertical and known celestial objects to estimate the orientation, latitude and longitude. So with respect to sun, or with respect to moon, or with respect to some stars, or with respect to some planets, the user is making a how much angle, how much vertical angle the object is making. If we know this, then the direction, latitude, longitude, that is the position, that is x-axis and y-axis coordinates, can be estimated easily in the celestial navigation. So this is the celestial navigation. And the fourth one is the radio navigation. So this will rely upon the radio frequency sources with known locations. Radio frequency sources with the known locations, that is using the including the GNSS. Of course, our entire subject is about the radio navigation. There are 5 types of basic navigation. Among them, our entire subject deals about the radio navigation techniques, where it is relying upon the radio frequency signals with some known locations. With some known locations means some radio frequency signals are sent from certain places whose locations are already known. Of course, that location is nothing but a satellite in a constellation. Later on, we are going to understand this. And the fifth one is the inertial navigation. And this is the peculiar one, which will not rely upon any of the references. This is very, very important point. Inertial navigation system, it will not rely on any external references. This is the first point. And it relies on knowing your initial position, velocity and attitude, and thereafter measuring your attitude rates and accelerations. So first, it needs where the object is present, its position, and velocity, with how much velocity it is moving, and attitude. Attitude is with what rate it is changing velocity. With what rate it is changing the velocity. Because the moving objects may not be maintaining the same velocity throughout its journey. So that they need to know the attitude, that is rate of their speed or velocity. And of course, coming to our radio navigation techniques. In the radio navigation techniques, the first one implemented technique is called as the Global Navigation Satellite Systems, GNSS. Global Navigation Satellite Systems, GNSS. So under this heading, we have developed, till now, we have developed the 3 techniques. That is 3 constellations we say in clearly. One is the GPS by US, GLONASS by Russia, and Galileo by the Europe. These 3 countries, of course, and their alliance later on in collaboration, they have started improving or developing the technology. So first one is the GPS, Global Positioning System. It's a part of satellite-based navigation system developed by the US Department of Defense. So it is majorly for the military applications. That's why this was implemented for the first time by the Department of Defense under one satellite program that is called as the NavStar. So NavStar is the satellite program name, which was launched by the Department of Defense, and that has given birth to the Global Positioning System technique. what it consists of. So in brief, what we're going to learn future is about, there are certain constellations. A constellation is nothing but a group of satellites. A constellation is nothing but a group of satellites. So there are certain satellites which are revolving around the Earth, For what purpose? For the purpose of sending some radio frequency signals. So what for we have to send the radio frequency signals? The radio frequency signals are sent for the navigation process. So GPS is one such constellation, GLONASS is one such constellation, and Galileo is another such a constellation. They differ in number of satellites, they differ in number of orbits present, they differ in what angle each satellite is makes with respect to the equator. In these things, they will vary. So what is GPS? It's a part of satellite-based navigation system developed by the US Department of Defense under the NavSat satellite program. And what GPS includes? The GPS includes 24 active satellites. They are uniformly dispersed around 6 circular orbits. With 4 or more satellites each. So in each orbit, 4. 6 into 4, 24 satellites. For the first time, 24 satellites were used. Later on, it has increased to 31, of course. Of course, there are pros and cons. After studying pros and cons, after using the GPS technique for some applications, extra 7 satellites are included in the GPS constellation. Of course, that we know, that is for replacement of any unhealthy satellite or any default satellite. More 7 are kept as extra, right? Like a standby satellites, we can call them as. And the orbits are inclined at an angle of 55 degrees related to the equator. So with rest, equator is a imaginary line which is drawn on the surface of the Earth. With respect to that, we measure how much inclination each satellite is making. So coming to the GPS, satellite, each GPS satellite will make 55 degrees with respect to the equator, and each satellite is separated from each other by multiples of 60 degrees right ascension. So in between each satellite, they are 60 degrees right ascension. And from equator, they are making an angle of 55 degrees. Now, what they do, they revolve around the Earth. So when they are revolving around the Earth, what would be the radius of the Earth? The radius of the Earth is around 26,560 kilometers. So for one satellite to complete one revolution, how much time it takes? It is not taking 24 hours. If it takes 24 hours, then those satellites are called as the geostationary satellites. They are called as the geostationary satellites. But these satellites are not geostationary. In fact, they are non-geostationary satellites. And this will take half of the sidereal day. That is half of the sidereal day. That is 11.967 hours. 11.96 hours. Of course, one sidereal day is for one rotation of Earth around itself, how much time it takes. That is usually 24 hours, 56 minutes and 4 seconds that we know. Sorry, 23 hours, 56 minutes, 4 seconds. It is wrongly typed here. I'll correct it later. But you make a note of it. 23 hours, 56 minutes, 4 seconds. Half of that is 11.967 hours. And more information about the GPS orbits. So 3 or more GPS satellites will always be visible from most points on the Earth's surface, and 4 or more GPS satellites can be used to determine an observer's position anywhere on the Earth's surface 24 hours per day. So here there are 24 satellites in the constellation asset, but all the 24 satellites are not required to navigate an object. There are minimum 3 are enough or plus 1. 3 or sometimes 4 satellites are enough for finding out the position of a user. Right? That is about the type of the satellites and the number of satellites required for the navigation solution. Of course, that we'll know in the future sections. Next is signals. So we knew that each satellite will send an RF signal, but does all the RF signals are same? RF signal have certain parameters. So what is the frequency of that, right? And what is the chipping rate of that, right? What is the chipping rate of that, and what is the bandwidth of that? So these technical details are present here. So each GPS satellite carries a cesium and rubidium atomic clock or rubidium atomic clock to provide the timing information for the signals transmitted by the satellites. So when a signal has started from a satellite and when it has reached the user, how much time of travel is there? To know that, the GPS will, each satellite will use a rubidium atomic clock or cesium atomic clock. So each satellite is also called as a space vehicle. Each satellite, some other authors may call it as a space vehicle, SV. And there is always a mismatch will be there between our clock and the satellite clock, because our clock is designed with respect to the rotation of the Earth around itself. But in the universe, there are so many planets and there are so many satellites, subplanets. So there should be internal clock correction, and that is provided for each satellite clock by the GPS system. And each GPS satellite will transmit the two L-band carrier signals. One is called L1, another one is the L2. And L1's frequency is 1575.42 megahertz and L2 frequency is 1227.63 megahertz. Of course, these two are integral multiples of F1, that is 1540 times of F0, and F2 is 1200 times of F0, where F0 is a base frequency. That is 1.023 megahertz is the base frequency. F1 and F2 are integral multiples, right? And the L1 signal from each satellite uses the binary BPSK technique for the modulation, and this is modulated by pseudo-random noise codes, of course in quadrature phase and also the in phase, by two codes, two pseudo-random noise codes. They are called as the C by A code and another one is called as the P code. And the L2 signal from each satellite is also BPSK modulated by only the P code. So make a difference of this here itself when you're writing the answers. So L1 is modulated by C by A code and P code, and L2 signal is modulated only by the P code, and both of them are BPSK modulated, right? And the next, compensation for the delays, propagation delays. Of course, this topic we already knew once I am revising. So signal propagating from satellite to the user has to travel through the ionosphere, travel to the troposphere. Ionosphere is composed of ionized molecules, and troposphere, and it may not be directly incident on the user. It may take some multiple paths. So these will cause some errors. So there should be some compensation for this, and for that purpose we are using the two different carrier signals, that is L1 and L2, because the delay varies as the inverse square of the signal frequency. Delay is inversely proportional to the square of the frequency. So as more frequency we are using, delay will decrease. That's why we are using the two signal frequencies. So of course, because there is always a differential delay between the two, and two are always comparable. And next, we use the CDM technique. Of course, code division multiplexing is a technique which is orthogonal, which is like orthogonal. All the signals are orthogonal and no one is interfering with other. No one is interfering with the other one. So it is for a better utilization of the bandwidth. TDM will divide the time, FDM will divide the frequency. and this will use separate unique codes. It will use unique codes. If we use TDM technique, it will consume more time. If we use FDM technique, it will consume more bandwidth. So a compromise between these two is the code division multiple access CDMA. And of course, this will use this thing. And we know very much about the satellite navigation signal. It's a bit stream, GPS satellite bit stream. It includes navigational information on the ephemeris of the transmitting GPS satellite. Ephemeris is about the orbital information, in which orbit the satellite is rotating, in which orbit the satellite is rotating, and at what radius. Even though it is 26,500 kilometers, but it may vary from one orbit to the other orbit. There may be. And this information is present in the satellite navigation signal. Of course, about this we already learned in our unit 2 with a navigation message. Right? Navigation message. What is the navigation message is consisting of? And almanac for all GPS satellite. Almanac is about the health status of the satellites, and with parameters providing approximate corrections for the ionospheric signal propagation delays suitable for the single frequency receivers, and for an offset time between satellite clock time and true GPS time. And this navigation signal will also consist of the correction measures for the ionospheric delay, and also to provide an offset which may occur between the satellite clock time and the GPS time. So the offset is also present here. And the transmission rate of this is 50 baud. The transmission rate of this is the 50 bauds. Of course, about all this we have learned in our unit 3 and 2 and 3 and 4. Here a brief of them. Of course, selective availability is what? Is a combination of methods that are available to the US Department of Defense. So what it is? For non-authorized users. For non-authorized users, when they are intent to cause some threat to the US military, then the selective availability will degrade those signals. It will degrade those signals by, of course, how it is? By nulling the radiation gain in particular directions. So wherever the threat causing signals are coming in that direction, the antenna gain is nullified so that the signals are not received to the intended receiver. Of course, later on, so many obligations have come in 2000 year, it was withdrawn. But remember, it can be reactivated at any point of time because it is their own system. And of course, in this we have learned PPS, precise positioning service, their own applications, standard positioning service. So standard positioning service with SA and without SA, 3 things. And GPS, how it works. So you can see the video. The number of visible satellites is varying as the orbital moments, as the satellites are moving in the orbits. As the satellites are moving in the orbits. So that is a count. How many satellites are visible to the position, user position. So this blue colored one is a user position. The green colored lines are number of satellites visible, and the remaining are non-visible satellites. So when each satellite is rotating in its own orbit, at least minimum 4 are visible to the user's position. You can see, observe here very clearly, user position is also changing. Why? Because Earth is not stationary. Earth is also rotating around itself. That's why this number is always changing, and always there is a necessity to synchronize the both. Here I have provided one video. Okay, already studied. This is not required here at this point of time. And how it works. So of course, 24 satellites are present in the GPS. So each one takes 11.57 hours. That is half of the sidereal day. And they are 11,000 miles above there. That is 22,000 500 kilometers or 11,000 miles, whatever it is. And they are synchronized. They send the signals at the same time and picked up by the receiver. The procedure we'll learn it in the next one. So how GPS works is the receiver needs to determine the distance to 4 satellites per 3-dimensional. But how does the receiver determine the distance from each satellite? Of course, simply by using the distance, time, and velocity relationships from our high school mathematics. Distance is equal to speed into time or velocity into time. We want to calculate the distance of the satellite. Then the user will get signals from 4 satellites and time of travel of that signal will be calculated. And its velocity is already predefined. That is equal to the radio frequency signal's velocity is equal to the speed of the light. That is 3 × 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. That into the time is calculated, and the time will give us the distance of the each satellite from the user. Once the distance of each satellite from the user is known, the user's longitudes and latitudes can be easily found by the technique of trilateration, not triangulation. Triangulation is using angle measurements, and trilateration is using the distance measurement. So to calculate distance is equal to speed into time. This we know. Just now we have already studied this. So GLONASS is another navigation system. It was formed by the Soviet Union, that is Russia. Number of satellites and some angles, there will be a difference. This is 120 degrees rotation, and that was 64 degrees rotation. And GPS was 55 degrees with equator that is making, and GLONASS satellites will make 64.8 degrees. These are some basic differences. I think I need not to spend much time here. There are some theoretical aspects, differences. At this point of time, we don't spend much time on this. Of course, Galileo is by European Union, that is EU, British, and all European countries. They have their own number of satellites, and angle of inclination with respect to equator and angles between them, they will differ. And the services offered by the Galileo include open service, safety of life service, commercial service, public related service, and search and rescue operation. Of course, all this we have learned in applications of GPS Unit 5. So we don't spend much of the time here. Are you getting any doubts till now? Because I want to complete. Any doubts till now, or shall I move ahead? You can respond in the chat box. Hello guys. Will you please respond through the chat box? Any doubts, or shall I proceed? Hello. Right. So here we spend some time. So basic GNSS system will contain the constellations, GPS constellation, GLONASS, and Galileo constellation. And these 3 constellations themselves will not give the exact solution. There are some bugs. So to overcome those bugs, some augmentation systems are present in the space domain and in the user domain. So in the space domain, they are called the space-based augmentation system. And in the user domain, of course, user will be on the ground. They are called as the ground-based augmentation system. And aircraft-based augmentation system. SBS is also called as the aircraft-based augmentation system. Of course, some of them are VAS and LAS. We already studied in Unit 4. Wide area augmentation system and local area augmentation system. So this is satellite navigation. Of course, but here it is trilateration. So this circle, satellite A and its coverage, satellite C and its coverage. So these two will intersect at one point. These two will intersect at one point, and when they intersect, actually they will be covering more area. To know exactly where our object is present, we take the help of a third satellite, that is satellite B, A, B, C totally. And these two satellites will exactly interfere with and intersect at one point, and that point will be the user's position. And this is called as the trilateration technique. This is called as the trilateration technique. So distance of it from A, distance of it from B, and distance of it from C will be calculated so that its own longitudes and latitudes will be known easily. Of course, we use so this is the space satellite. Here the signal will be sent. This was supposed to be the path of this, but actual path will be somewhat deviated from this. This is assumed part and this is actual path. So because of that, some corrections are required. Of course, the clock corrections will be sent by the navigation message itself, and how much correction we are doing, that will be provided by some augmentation technique. Once the time is known, speed is already known to us, distance can be found very easily. Of course, these are some of the applications of the VAS, which is a satellite-based augmentation system to enroute the oceanic objects, to enroute the domestic flights, to enroute the terminal, approach, and surface. And approach and surface and terminal, we call it as a local area augmentation system, LAS. Of course, about that we learned in our unit 4. This is wide area augmentation, where the reference stations are used. And these are some of the applications of the GPS. Of course, we have spent enough time on studying knowing the applications of GPS. GPS is used in aerospace, automotive, military. Of course, primary objective is military, and also the civilian applications, recreation and augmented reality, marine navigation, air navigation, and also the land navigation. We are using the GPS till now. And components of GPS include space segment, control segment, and user segment. So space segment is the one where the entire constellation, 24 satellites are present. Control segment includes master station, that is master control station, more precisely, and monitoring stations, some reference stations, and also the ground antennas. And finally, user segment. User segment is every GPS user who will contain some GPS receiver inbuilt with it. Maybe a very smaller one, maybe a very robust one. Every GPS user who is enabling the techniques of GPS will come under the user segment. Of course, space segment, control segment, and user segment pictorially is shown. May not to be here. Control segment and user segment. So this also I played, I think you can go through. I will share the PPTs, whatever we have already studied. Now this last point. This is the satellite navigation in the two-dimensional example. So here we need to have some basics of the Taylor series expansion. We need to know some of the Taylor series expansion. Try to be more concentrated from here onwards, because this question was raised by C-section students. So there are two local transmitters. So antenna location in 2 dimensions can be calculated by using the range measurements. Range measurement is about a distance measurement. And there is symmetric solution using the 2 transmitters on the land. So first you see the diagram. So you see the diagram. This is x-axis in the x dimension, 1 dimension, and y-axis is the another dimension. Capital XU, capital YU is the user, that is to be tracked or to be navigated. And there are 2 transmitters, local transmitters, transmitter 1 and transmitter 2. Transmitter 1's position is given by the coordinates x1, y1. Transmitter 2's coordinates are given by x2 and y2. And with reference to this user, transmitter 1 is making an angle of theta, of course in the negative direction, and transmitter 2 is also making an angle of theta in the positive direction. And distance of the user from transmitter 1 is R1, and distance of the user from transmitter 2 is R2. This is actual position XU and YU. U refers to user, and XU cap and YU cap is a estimated position. What principle we use and how do we estimate the user's position using the trilateration technique is our task here. So for that we use a simple mathematics. So of course we will find out the R1 by calculating the T1, because we know that RF signal travels with a speed of the light, C into T1, and R2 is C into T2. R1 is the distance of the satellite user from satellite 1 or transmitter 1 here in this case, and R2 is the distance of the user from transmitter 2, and T1 is the time taken for the radio wave to travel from the transmitter 1 to the user. T2 is the time taken for the radio wave to travel from the transmitter 2 to the user. Of course, simple mathematics. And after this, the range to the each transmitter, of course, a simple geometry, I think. So R1 is equal to x minus x1. X is to be calculated position, x minus x1 whole square plus y minus y1 whole square under root. And R2 is calculated as x minus x2 whole square. It's a simple mathematics from your high school geometry, right? Y minus y2 whole square under root. These are the from geometry. And here the engineering application is we expand them using the Taylor's series expansion. When we expand them by some small perturbation in x and also in the y with delta x and delta y, then delta R1, change in R1 is given by this equation, and change in R2 is given by this equation. These are Taylor's series expansion. You might have learned in somewhere around M1 or M2. I am not expert in this. I'm sorry for this. You must answer this. Where U1 and U2 are some higher order terms. This is like an expansion, series of expansions. All higher orders are estimated here to be U1 and U2, and dou R1 by dou X into delta X, dou R1 by dou Y into delta Y, dou R2 by dou X into delta X, dou R2 by dou Y into delta Y are the lower order terms. Then we'll substitute 2.5 in 2.7 in place of R1, this equation, and 2.6 in terms of R2 in equation 2.8. Then we apply the mathematics. After substituting and simplifying, we get delta R1 is equal to this equation, and delta R2 is equal to this equation. And there is one more technique called a least squares method, that is called least squares estimate of the position, user position x comma y. And for that purpose, we need to minimize that. That is by, again, this is I think Taylor's coefficient, j is equal to u1 square plus u2 square from higher order terms, where j is equal to this is a constant. And the solution for the minimum can be formed by setting dou j by dou delta x is equal to 0, and dou j by dou delta y is also equals to 0. Then solving for delta x, how much change will be there in x position and how much change will be there in the y position. Delta x and delta y will be given by this. This is delta R1 and delta R2. So by substituting all of them, we get this. Delta x is equal to delta R1 minus delta R2, change in R1 and change in R2 by 2 sin theta. And delta R1 plus delta R2 by 2 cos theta. So here we get 2 sin theta in the denominator, and here we get 2 cos theta in the denominator. Here delta R1 minus delta R2, delta R1 plus delta R2. And see the diagram. So this is all about unit 1. In the meanwhile, I have given some of you the video, some of the video lectures Please go through them. I will share these PPTs with you. Any doubts, guys? In the class till now? You have to talk to me. You can raise your hand or you can text in the chat box. Hello? Any doubts? If you have no doubts, then I will stop my class here. Please respond. There are only 56 members are present in the class till now. Hello, guys. I'll wait for 2 more minutes for the doubts to be asked by you. From chat box, no doubt till now. Are you there in the class? Hello. Okay, guys, thank you for today. I'm stopping it here, and tomorrow we'll meet with the Unit 2 and Unit 2 revision. Of course, after that, we'll revise Unit 3. Of course, Unit 4 and 5 very recently covered. So most of you have not asked any questions from that. Thank you. I am ending the meeting such that I stop the class.